So, tampons contain toxic metals. Where has this headline come from? What does it actually mean? Why are we only hearing about this now? And what does it tell us about sexism and medical research? You may or may not have heard about this book, Invisible Women by Carolyn Criado Perez, Exposing Data Bias in a World Designed for Men. Perez outlines how the exclusion of women in medical trials for most of history has meant that the world has quite literally been built for men. The discovery of this study perfectly demonstrates the implications of this system. In the background of the study, it outlines how between 52 to 86% of people who menstruate in the United States use tampons to absorb menstrual blood in the vagina. That's 93 to 154 million people in the US alone. The lead author of the study, Jenny A. Sheridan, a postdoctoral scholar at the UC of Berkeley, told Berkeley, "To our knowledge, this is the first paper to measure metals in tampons. Tampons have been used for generations and have been commercialized for decades, yet this is the first study." So what the study actually looked into was evaluating the concentration of 16 metalloids in 30 tampons from 14 brands and 18 product lines. And the results were that they found measurable concentrations of all 16 metals, detected concentrations of several toxic metals, including evaluated mean concentrations of lead, cadmium, and arsenic. Most metals differed by organic status. Lead concentration was higher in non-organic tampons, while arsenic was higher in organic tampons. And why do we care? Why is this a concern? Metals have been found to increase the risk of dementia, infertility, diabetes, and cancer. This study is such a terrifying reminder of a much bigger problem, which is the lack of funding given to women's health research. Nature.com did a terrific job of visualizing this issue back in May 2023. Each of these circles represents a disease, with the circle area representing disease burden, a measure of how much death and disability it causes. Grey circles represent diseases that affect women and men roughly equally. For orange circles, at least 60% of people with the disease are women. For blue, at least 60% of those affected are men. Here are the diseases ranked by burden. Now let's look at funding data from the US National Institute of Health, the NIH, which spent US $45 billion on biomedical research in 2022. If NIH funding were determined only by the burden of disease, then bubbles would remain in the same order. Instead, when ranked by funding amount, diseases that affect mainly women drop down. They are underfunded compared with the burden. The degree of underfunding or overfunding is different for the groups of conditions too. On average, female-dominant diseases that are underfunded are more severely so. For example, chronic fatigue syndrome, known as ME/CFS, the ratio of burden to funding is 0.04. Compare that to the likes of HIV or AIDS, the ratio is 15.6.